Welcome to Iceland. My name is Gylfi, and I will be your brutally honest guide while we explore the village Hauganes by the deep and beautiful fjord Eyjafjörður. And this time, I'm starting the story with the town's name, or what does it mean? And when we look at official tourist information, the name would come out as the Peninsula of Mounds, which sounds quite friendly. But in reality, the translation doesn't stand up to brutally honest scrutiny. And the problem I'm having with this is that in modern Icelandic, the word haugur is more of a pile of something, like a pile of you know what. And haugur is also used to describe lazy slopes, but not mounds or hills. So since I was a kid, the town's name has always sounded awful to me, but I am going to be fair and allow the village to describe itself during this approach. So welcome to Hauganes. Like many villages in Iceland, this started all with a little shelter from the winds, or a suitable place for the boats. So some of the first settlers, they gave this place a go, until they found out that it might have been a mistake. So many of them moved deeper into the fjord, where the climate is better. So the story about this village is pretty much a copy-paste version of the Árskógsandur story that I have also covered. But Hauganes does, however, have more historical value, since in the 10th century, a nearby farm became a part of both Icelandic and the Norwegian history, and left us with the only royal gravesite in Iceland that we see here with the village in the background. And that is a story about Rörek Dagsson, or one of the original kings in Norway who fought King Olaf Haraldsson and plotted to get rid of him. But King Olaf caught on to the plot and punished Rörek by having his eyes plucked out, which was certainly not very nice of him. But the idea was, however, to somehow deactivate him without executing him. But not even that worked out, since during a church ceremony, Rörek, then blind, tried to stab King Olaf, so there was only one more cruel punishment left for him, or send him to Greenland. But his ship, it ran into problems due to weather, and Iceland became the king's last home, where he allegedly died in the year 1022. But his grave, it didn't get a headstone until 1976. But still, this is not very impressive gravesite, so travelers from Norway are not very impressed when they see this, or our lack of interest to do the king's grave justice. And I know that the local farmers have been asking for a road to this monument, but with no results so far. And this headstone and the stories of the king here in Iceland raise some serious questions about his name, or what is this name Hrærekur? And now I'm diving into what might be the most awful language custom here in Iceland, or to create Icelandic names for royalties and foreign capitals. Like the Icelandic word for London is Lundunir. So this language tradition is not only horrible, it is insulting, and to make matter even worse, King Hrærekur, it is composed of two words, hræ, which means a carcass, and rekur, which means drifting. So the name literally means a drifting carcass, and I'm very surprised why the Norwegian ambassador hasn't been protesting. So this awful language custom of ours, it is actually a good material for a separate video. So I've already placed it on my list. And let's move into the modern era. Fishing was dominating throughout the history of the village, and Hauganes was not one of the lucky towns when it comes to fishing quota. But they did, however, have the right people with the right mentality to work around it. So the oldest whale watching company in Iceland was established here 30 years ago. And they operate 2 boats and do also sea angling. And that operation became the basis for what was to come, or how full of life this town is often during summer. And it was another local businessman that took this already strong tourist destination to another level. And he had operated a traditional saltfish processing plant here for a long time, and it was based on the old methods. So he is now concentrating on the Icelandic market and operates a fish shop where people like me can come to get the good old saltfish that has actually been hard to get on our market. But the saltfish wasn't enough for him. He opened up hot tubs on the local black sand beach. And it's not the high-end fancy type of nature baths, but the idea elevated the campsite to another level. And then he added the saltfish restaurant into this equation, and the town has been a major hit for tourists ever since, which is a huge achievement for a town of this size, I have to say. And it's like stopping in a town with a way larger population when the summer traffic is on and the weather is good. And it seems as they are not stopping there. There are plans to convert the hot tubs into nature baths that are in line with what we have been seeing elsewhere, or high-end bathing facilities. But to be brutally honest, I have my doubts because nature baths are in general quite expensive, so we don't use them like swimming pools. So I'm hoping that if this idea becomes a reality, it will not ruin the family-friendly charm they have now, or this simple idea that is affordable and easy to access, and of course a big part of the campsite mood. So I think it's a tricky path not to compromise what they have already going there, especially since nature baths are popping up all around the country now. And that market could become saturated to some extent. But this place will at least stay the same for the next years, to the best of my knowledge. And what the village offers is a bit of old Iceland. Saltfish, whales, traditional processing, hot water, and I find the village to be very inviting, with down-to-earth people, proud of their heritage. And what you see is what you get. So I recommend a detour to check them out. And as usual, it's good to know that my videos are not locally sponsored in any way. So I can make my videos from my own perspective as a frequent traveler. And feel free to subscribe because this is a growing information database that will not just be good for tourists, because I try to cover local history where it has some value for my presentation. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from my home country, Iceland.